All right. Well, here we are, Salem.
I know. It is official.
Oh my gosh. We are starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And we figured the first episode should probably be like why we decided to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because not that we've not started a lot of other things together and done all of those things, but that's a later time, right?
I think that's another episode, actually.
Yeah, I would agree. And walking into this, we kind of just talked about whether or not we're going to put artificial stuff in our bodies, like Botox. And I'm pro Botox, and Salem is not.
Not yet. I think there's you can totally do it, and it's totally fine, and it's totally up to you, regardless of what phase of life you are in. It's just right now, I'm trying to keep it all natural.
Because she has beautiful skin, but it is what it is. So where should we start? We have started a podcast. It is about all the things. We are constantly needing to talk to each other, embracing life and going through it together. And so we figured we would open the door for everybody else to do that with us. And I think it's a good place for people to listen and laugh and probably at the end of the day be like, me too, in a good way.
Definitely. And I think we're going to dig into it, but that's what I feel like when I'm listening to other podcasts. Sometimes I really have a hard time identifying with the host. And for us, like, we are so busy. We are both working moms, and we're both, in that millennial age bracket at this point, whatever, if you want to call it that. And sometimes it's just hard to, be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes when you're listening to these podcasts. And you're like, well, how does this apply to me? Because they don't have kids, or they don't have, they're, at a different phase in life. And sometimes it's hard to identify with.
Yeah. I would agree with all of that. Plus, we're not all billionaires on the show, or even maybe millionaires. And so we were like, okay, let's be real.
Yeah, right? I'm definitely not a millionaire.
Get down to the real stuff. Yeah. One day.
After this podcast.
Housekeeping, just a couple of housekeeping things, I think. You're going to learn about some mechanisms. So, and I know Salem's going to give you some disclaimers for herself, but I talk with my hands a lot. So if you're watching us, you're going to see that. I also can't make any promises that I'm not going to drop bad words, because it's just literally who I've been my whole life. And there may be an F-bomb here or there, and I will put that on the episode in case you have kids listening. So, yeah.
And I think for me, really, my facial expressions, I have a hard time keeping those in check. So that will happen. And I don't know what else. That's my biggest struggle, I think. You get a little distracted sometimes, a little long-winded, but we'll see. It'll come out.
It's our podcast.
Whatever happens, it will come out in the podcast.
Cool. All right. Well, let's kind of get into it. So who are we? I mean, people listening to this that know us know exactly who we are. But for people who aren't, who are we? So Salem, why don't you tell us who you are and why we even deserve to be here today?
Oh, okay. Deserve. No, my name is Salem. I am an interior designer for a construction company. So that is my day job. And we are both really creative. And that design is probably going to get sprinkled into the podcast for sure. But I'm a designer. I'm a creative. My education background is in art. But I'm also a mom and a wife and a friend.
Cool. Well, I am obviously Megan. I guess overall, I am a business executive. I have worked my way through operations and companies, a couple different companies from the bottom up, and operations is my bread and butter, but leadership is really a main thing that I love to do and develop. And I love building teams and creating them and helping them thrive. I think that's the best way to describe who I am or what I do. But I'm also a soccer mom. Who knew I was ever going to be a soccer mom? Never played soccer. I have two little ones, and that's what we do a lot on our weekends. So to squeeze this in is pretty exciting. And then on the side, I love design as well. I'm not as qualified, but I have a background in psychology. And so all of those things play into like design itself and how you thrive in a well-designed life. So.
Absolutely.
Great.
So I guess that's kind of our background.
Yeah.
A little bit of our background. When did we first have the idea to start a podcast?
Ooh.
When did it first come up for you?
Well, when did we actually do the Margaret's Mill stuff, the wedding planning stuff?
Lord, that's another episode.
We talked about it then, though. I think we like daydreamed a little bit, visioned.
Yeah.
But we really started talking about it. I don't know, when did we actually officially start saying, okay, we really do need to put this in motion?
Well, I know that we definitely, as I transitioned into the interior design role, that was when I really got more into podcasting, and I really just started listening to more because I was in transition. And then right after I had my son, like I feel like that's really when I started digging into podcasts at that time, and then started listening to them, and then started realizing, oh, we could do this one. And then two, like I just can't 100% identify with everybody. So probably about a year ago, year and a half.
Yes. So this is probably about a year and a half in the making to fruition, I would say, to execution. I would say I've been an avid podcast listener for years. Like, it is my best way to consume knowledge and information and education. And it's easy for me to do on my commute to work and commute home, and even when I'm exercising. So it really helps my brain do things in motion. So I would say I've been doing that for years, but our company actually produces podcasts, like the company I work for. And so being able to actually figure out the application of it helped us say, okay, we can move this project forward in a real way. And putting actual dotting the T's, not dotting the T's, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So, this is our first one. You're going to hear lots of mistakes, I'm sure. I'm not a copywriter or, a producer in any sense, but yes, exciting stuff.
Yeah. So what's our ultimate goal with podcasts? What are we trying to accomplish? Like I know I mentioned, I just felt like I couldn't identify necessarily with all the hosts, and just felt like sometimes these hosts, they get farther and farther and farther away from kind of my demographic. Like, I'm looking for somebody who I can identify with. So what are like gaps we're trying to fill? What are we trying to do here?
Well, obviously a community is one of those things. And I think the biggest thing is we've both had conversations with tons of our friends and other people in our community, whether it be in sports or in parenting or even just our social circles, where it's like we all have these things we want to talk about out loud, and they don't get talked about out loud. But then also because a lot of people come to us and they're like, I absolutely love the way you think or envision design or things like that. So it's almost inspirational as well. So it's really just building a community where people feel seen and heard and like empowered and inspired, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, just to build on to that, like also like sharing what we know, sharing from our successes and our failures, our many failures, and just like some of those lessons that we've learned and the projects that we've done and the, in the little ventures that we've been on and things like that. So I think, it's sharing that knowledge and maybe giving a little bit of value that way too.
Yeah, I think that's definitely practical to know, because we continuously fail and succeed and thrive through parenting as busy moms, working moms. You're in design every single day and construction every day, but I went through a major renovation. And so learning all of our things from that. And then I would just say also, I'm a systems person, which when it comes to business, but I also apply those in my home life as well. And hopefully helping people find just little hacks in life, because there's just no getting through life unscathed. Like, we're all going to come out a little damaged. And so I think if we can at least have a hack here or there that we're like, yes, I have mastered that, it makes life a little bit easier.
Well, and you're so good at that. Like, all of the like finding efficiencies and like and making sure you're the path of least resistance. Like, you're really good at that. So that'll definitely be you. I'm less than efficient.
I would say it's because, just so y'all know, I am OCD, but also because my personality type doesn't allow me to leave my boxes. So we should probably talk about that. Like, we are major Enneagram advocates. And so I'm a type 1, which perfectionism is not the best way to say it. Reformer might be. And I constantly like to think that I'm going to keep it in this box first before I move on to the next box. And Salem, you're a
Enneagram 3. Which might seem odd if I said that I'm less than efficient. I mean, I think 3, I'm going to say achiever. Ultimately, I want to make sure I get things done and achieve those things. It's just the path to do that is less than perfect.
Yes. Perfectionism is a myth. We'll talk about that at one point, I'm sure. Great. Well, here we are. We're actually recording.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts so far about this process and how we got here?
It's not bad. It's not bad. Luckily, you can execute.
Oh, yes.
Period.
When under pressure, deadlines, you know, you have to have them done. So
yeah. And so when I have somebody I have to be accountable to, it works better. And so that's why we're a really good team. But so far it's been great. And all thanks to you, really.
I would say no, because you're really kind of the visionary. And if anybody's even familiar with the EOS system, which is a business approach, but it's also a life approach, I think you're the visionary in this sense, where you're like, she comes up with the big ideas and I'm immediately like, oh, and this is how we're going to do them.
Right.
And put the plan in place. So she's very right about that. But without someone with that vision or able to like plant that seed, I wouldn't have gotten through the steps or the motions. And so, you know, I think that takes teamwork.
Definitely. I don't think, I mean, based on my personality, your personality, I don't know if we wouldn't have been able to pull it off, or at least pull it off so quickly and efficiently if we hadn't done it together.
Yeah. A year and a half, y'all. That's our efficiency process. But you know, we also have
bad. But when we actually decided we're doing it, it's only been a couple of months.
You're right. We've been putting outlines in place. We've been actually like practicing some things, and all of this outside of our normal full-time job. Lots of Wednesday nights, I think has been our meeting nights. And, you know, we'll be sitting outside or somewhere in our house discussing what's next and figuring out the ins and outs of it. So
yeah, I think that's important to talk about too, because a lot of, I mean, yes, I'm an interior designer during the day. So that's definitely a creative field. But, you know, when it comes to these passion projects, we are doing those in our personal time. And we're carving that out, you know, after the kids have gone to bed, after we've got the kitchen cleaned up from dinner, you know, after all the things. So I think that's important to say too, for people to just understand and maybe relate to. You know, if you ever thought you might want to do a podcast, it is totally possible, even with a busy schedule.
Yeah, I think everybody needs something for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And I think every time we come up with a new idea or a project, it's because we're like, we need that moment to ourselves and something that we can be like, oh, we did this on our own. And it didn't involve necessarily the mom side of us or the career side of us, but it was really like the Salem and Megan side of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what can people expect from us in terms of content, like specific? Let's get specific.
Yeah, I think they can expect us to talk about, obviously we've already talked about design and like some practical feedback there, or even, you know, how you approach a project, or whether it's do it yourself or bringing in industry people from that.
Yep, definitely an interior design element to the content for sure. And a little bit of construction, a little bit of DIY. That'll definitely be making its way into the lineup. Probably
raising tiny humans.
Yes.
A lot of that.
Being moms in today's time, and being millennial moms even. So that'll definitely be one of the things.
Yeah, I would say if you're in a normal situation of a family, or like the average American family, you typically have two working people in the household, and we are one of those. But not only do you even have to, but I think Salem and I resonate with the fact that we like to work. And we like to be able to have things in front of us to work on that allow us to put our brain and our creativity and, you know, the intelligence that we have in application. So I would say we also are going to be talking about our ambition and our career paths, and
yes, definitely
how that translates.
Yeah, because we're both very proud of that.
Yeah.
And mine's not quite as linear as yours has been, I think, but I think we're both very proud of that. We do very much like to work. Now, I will say that I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. Not that that is not working. Let's make that clear. Being a stay-at-home mom is not working.
Yeah, it's a full-time job.
It is its own full-time job.
I didn't apply for it. I didn't, y'all. I'm not made to be that. So, but Salem is.
Well, I think I am, but right now financially, it's just not something that we can afford to do. Period. It is just not something that we can financially afford. So while that is heartbreaking, it is the reality. And I'm very fortunate because I absolutely love my day job. You know, being an interior designer, I honestly never. I mean, I thought maybe I could make it happen in my town, but you know, I'm not living in Charlotte. I'm not living in a big city, and so I just really had my doubts about being able to be in a design field, construction field in my town. So that'll be a separate episode, I'm sure. But I do love my day job.
Well, let's be real. I do love to work, and I absolutely love what I'm doing right now, which is vice president of a company. And so I get to grow our leadership team. I also oversee our ops department still, but I still don't really know necessarily what I want to be when I grow up. And let's just be honest. You know, I'm always having a wild hair of like, well, what if we did this, or what if we tackled that? And it's typically with this one here. So I can promise you whatever I'm going to be doing, it's probably in the same capacity, but currently I love what I'm doing and I love where I'm at, and I just need some opportunities to thrive in side hustles or projects, passion projects, whatever we want to call them.
True.
Like
all right.
this one.
So we've got design and construction. We've got motherhood. What else?
Well, we talked about career and ambition, and what does that look like?
That's it.
And then how we actually make it all work, if we do.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't, but
yeah. Sometimes we fall apart. We normally put each other back together. Our families put ourselves back together, but it all works somehow or another and moves forward, right?
Right. So, where can people find out more about the podcast?
Well, right now, probably our own personal accounts. Obviously, it's going to be on all of your podcast platforms that we upload, like Spotify and Apple and all of your typical ones that you listen to.
What about us? So, I mean, social.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, primarily.
And I think it's at mbeaver13. Don't hold me to that. You can just go look up Megan Beaver. Salem.
And I'm at Salem Lee on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, but not super active. And to be fair, I'm not, we're working on the activity. I get a little cringy when I have to post on social media. So we're going to see how this whole thing goes. But I'm also on Twitter, but my activity on Twitter is unrelated to any of the content I put out anywhere. So if you go to find me on Twitter, just brace yourself.
We're going to embrace the cringe. I think neither one of us love social media the direction it goes right now, but we realize that we have an opportunity to be a positive impact there.
Very true. Yes.
So for now, we'll be more active with this on there, I would say, but you can find us there personally. We're not official yet, so we're working towards that in this podcast world, building it up. But we want to be a community, and we want to hear from you. So let's start there.
Yep. And if you send us a DM, or if you send me a DM, I will definitely respond to it there.
Yeah.
Anywhere, any of those socials.
Look, we have some interviews lined up with other badass moms. Women who have just like barreled through life and we find inspirational. I'm really excited for that. We have interviews lined up with actual industry people outside of ourselves, whether it be construction or design or even just real estate, because we all know that we constantly move. And what does that world look like right now? We are going to be talking in general about the holidays because those are coming up. So that'll be fun. And I think we can't wait to continue to share this thing we call life with you.
Yeah, so definitely connect with us. And if you have requests or if you have a topic you want us to, definitely send it to us.
Yeah.
Give us your feedback.
All right. Well, till next time, embrace all the things, and we will be back with We Need to Talk.
Yep. See you later.
See ya.